All right, so how was lunch? Good?
Very good.
Very good.
So thanks for
Thank you.
getting lunch for us there. It helps us to save some time. And so now that we're back, we are going to go into the buyer presentation. I'm going to push the button in a second. You'll know when to say the oohs and whatever. But I just want to let you know that the course is designed to show you how to be in control of your career and do 50 deals a year working 40 hours a week or less. And that's by focusing on booking a minimum of 3 listing appointments a week. So if you recall when we did the free event and even throughout the lessons, I keep on saying, book 3 listing appointments. Get listings. If you don't list, you won't last. Listings are the way to the top. And you may have still had the buyer thought in your mind, thinking, yeah, but what about buyers? And they'll say, well, if you want more buyers, get a listing because they'll call you. So everything pivots on getting inventory. The buyers will come to you. But when the buyers come to you, because you're a listing agent, you want to make sure you only work with buyers one way. So you'll hear some people where if they have 2 listings, let's say, and a buyer calls the yard sign and says, I want to see the place. A lot of the realtors will race over there and meet a total stranger at the property. And that's the wrong thing to do. I think we all know that. But I think that it just sounds like, especially when you're newer, it just seems like it's easier just to say, okay, I'll meet you there, and then you go there, and then you find out later, you go, well, that was kind of a waste of time. You know, they didn't show, or they weren't nice, or you couldn't get them committed to showing them some other houses, and you learn the hard way. So what I'm about to teach you is the best way to do real estate. That's what you wanted, yes?
Yes.
Okay, the best way to work with a buyer. Look, there's probably 4 or 5 ways to work with a buyer. But other than the best way, the other ones, in my opinion, I wouldn't do at all. Like the one I just said, race over and meet the total stranger. Worse yet, show them the property and they say they want to write an offer, and then you don't even know if they're pre-approved, and some of the new people don't even verify that. And they're writing offers with people that didn't commit to them, didn't sign agency, didn't get pre-approved, and the deals are falling apart like crazy. So we don't want any of that to happen, do we? Right?
No.
So here, you can give me an ooh for this. Ooh. The buyer presentation. And I just want you to know, the way we're going to do it is, let's say somebody calls on a yard sign. And when somebody calls on a yard sign, if you answer your phone, you better be prepared. Otherwise, let it go to voicemail. Actually, the best thing to do is if they call your office and admin answers, or you have an answering service, and a person answers instead of you, and they capture the lead and they text it to you, then what you do is transfer that information onto what? Do you remember? Lesson 3. Transfer the information onto something you printed off about 20 times.
Call form.
A call form. And you do that before you call them back. Just a little refresher here. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you may have had a number of calls while you turned your phone off on a listing appointment. Or maybe you're having dinner with your family, you turned it off for an hour, and you check and you had two people call on one of your properties. Now remember, you can get buyer leads in a lot of other ways. The best buyer lead you could ever get that I mentioned earlier today is you just sold their house and they want you to help them buy something. That's the best buyer lead. That's the best type of buyer. They're very motivated, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to get rid of that phone and we have to put the team thing up here. Somebody put this down. And he owes $5 again. I caught him. So can you get that from him as well? So I'll leave the team thing up there so I know what to call you guys. Because I was just going to say team and I went, oh, I couldn't see the team name there. So team A, right? So anyways, back on this. Well, he's pulling on his cash. Good for him. And so here's another $5. So actually, I was talking to captain of Team B, and she said that we could use a little more money. So I was wondering if everybody could just take their phones out right now and just set them on the tables. Can you do that for me? And then put it back away and take $5 out of your pocket and give it to her because she's getting the cake for graduation. Anyways, he knew that. He was just being a gentleman. He figured I'll give her some more money, but only way I can do that is if Dwayne catches me with my phone on the table. Anyways, I appreciate his attitude. His attitude is...
Got laptop also.
Huh?
It's a bad.
It's $25 for
Oh
that.
my God.
No, you don't have to pay that.
No.
If you're not comfortable with it on the ground, just put it on that chair there if you want. That's fine. It's nice to have your table with some room, anyways, right? So put it on the chair. That's fine. Thank you. All right. So,
Terry's phone here. Terry's phone. Oh, you took it.
oh, he's taking somebody else's phone. Okay, if you take somebody else's phone, it's $15 for the person that took it. $15 for the person that took it. All right. Okay, back to seriousness, I guess. So, there's a number of ways to get a buyer lead. Yard sign call, Kijiji response, Craigslist, social media response, pay-per-click, making it rain, internet input forms in your inbox, calling on a postcard, or you sold their house and they want you to help them buy a place, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you're booking an appointment, remember to use a little bit of some of the questions on your prospecting track when you're calling, like a pay-per-click. Hi, my name is, I was just calling because it looks like you're thinking of buying, is that right? And they go yes or no, and you say the reason I'm calling you is I'm just looking at the input form I got on my computer that you filled out online. You're looking for a home in Happy Hills, a bungalow around 500, and they'll either cooperate with you or they won't. Okay, so remember, optimistically, let's go with what works. Pessimistically, if you get somebody that's not cooperating with you, you just let it go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And get back being optimistic and positive, right? So now we've got them on the phone, and our main objective on the phone is to book an appointment. True or true?
True.
Okay, so we go and we close, cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
We say that dialogue that we keep in front of us,
Yeah.
and now we have the appointment. The ideal place to meet a buyer. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's $10.
Who was that?
That was,
Is that you?
no, that was our boss.
Is that you again, Christian? Is that you again?
No, it wasn't.
Oh my God.
It was him again.
I get everybody to turn off their phones. Because now it's not, normally it's more like interruptive to me or something, but now that we're all on it so much, that the whole class shifts as soon as it. So turn your phone off. Turn your phone off. I'm not going to pick on them again and make them pay. You already just paid. But go ahead and just turn it off. Everybody else better check your phones because, I mean, we will take the money. So just turn them off. All right. So, and this is really important anyways, isn't it? Like, as a class distraction, we're being a little fun, being goofy about it, that's fine. But personally, you don't want to be distracted because this is important for you folks. And so we got our appointment. Now we booked the appointment. The best place to have a buyer come in and see you is in your office right here. In the client room. Or if you have an office, in the office. Number one, hands down, best place. Not at their place, not at a coffee shop, right here. If they won't come in, bottom line, don't work with them. Can you commit to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
They won't come in. I don't want to come in. I just want to meet you at the property. Well, I can't help you. I just work with people that I meet at the office. Can you do that?
Yes.
Some of you can't because you're not even, you can't even, I can tell you won't. You're at a position right now where you're thinking, I got to get everything I can get, but you're not getting anything when you do it wrong. In fact, you're building bad habits as well, okay? So if you say you're committed to only work with people that come in, you'll save a whole bunch of, and
Time.
even if the exception happened and you met somebody that wrote an offer, that would actually be a really bad thing for you. Why would it be really bad if I did it wrong and it worked out?
So keep doing
You'll
it.
keep doing it. And you'll never get to that next level. And you will, now, I don't like to admit this, but I had a little bit of an issue with this myself. So like I told somebody, I used to build houses, and I was a mechanical contractor, things like that, for about 20 years. And then I decided to go into real estate because I thought we should sell some of our own stuff. And then I realized that, hey, I don't even need to build anything, I have to sell other people's stuff, and it's way more lucrative, right? And so then I started doing the marketing like you guys are doing and all that, and somebody would call, and I had quite a few listings going into real estate, especially after a few months. And somebody would call and they'd say, can you meet me? And I'd race over there. I didn't know any different though. You guys know the difference now, but you didn't know a few weeks ago, I get that. So I'd race over there, and I can remember coming back to the office, and I'd be thinking, I remember saying to some of the realtors, how come people say they're going to meet you there and they don't show up? And he goes, yeah, and then hardly anybody even told me what I'm about to tell you. And then I took a course similar to what I teach. Guy flew in once a week, worked with us for 2 months, and he taught how to get people to meet in the office and sign by our agency. There was other companies teaching it too. This is a long time ago. So I got taught early in my career, like you're talking maybe 6-8 months into my career. I got taught that it is more normal as a top producer to do your due diligence. In other words, have a meeting first to find out what their criteria is, find out what their needs and wants are, find out if you can actually help them, and see if they're capable. So I was taught that, but to change my old ways took a little while. I found it hard. Somebody would call on one of my listings, and I meet you there, and it was hard for me to do what I'm about to teach. It took me a little while. And what really pushed me over the top was one time I had a buyer that wouldn't sign by our agency, and I still worked with him. And we went out and saw properties. And this was a friend's son. His son was about at the time about 30, my friend was around 50, and I was about 40 at the time. 35, something like that. But he was a friend of mine. The father was a friend of mine, even though he was a lot older than me. But that was through business and stuff. And his son came and said, Dad told me to use you. I said, oh yeah, no problem, and I went over everything we taught, and I got him to take the buyer agency, and he didn't see the value that I was trying to explain, so that happens sometimes, and he said, let me just take the agreement and I'll talk to Dad, and then I'll see you tomorrow for the showings. And I said, okay. So when I saw him, he said, Dad said to let you know that don't worry about the agreement, but we're buying through. And I said, okay. We went out and saw properties. And in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, no, this isn't right. I got to get that before I can do anything. I got to start committing to that. I was taught it, and I've been doing it a little bit lately, but I let this go. Thought, okay. So we went out and showed properties just to speed up the story. He said he wanted to think about it, and then I said, okay, I'll set up some more showings for tomorrow if you want. He said, well, I'll let you know. So the next day I called him, I got voicemail, nothing. So I waited a couple more days, and I phoned him, nothing. Waited a week, phoned him, nothing. Phoned his dad, nothing. Nobody's returning my calls at all. 2 weeks goes by. I'm getting a little annoyed here, would you agree?
Yeah.
And so then I forget what you could do back then, star 67 is it or something, where he blocks the, and he answered, hello, and I said, hey, what was his name again? John, yeah, his name is John. So John, I said, it's Dwayne, and he goes, oh, hi. And I said, hey, just follow it up on, a property you want to buy. I said, it sounds like you're not interested in anything we show, but I can set up some more showings. Well, Dwayne, actually, we bought one. What? You guys with me?
Yeah.
I bought one. Oh. Which one did you buy? The second one you showed us. You showed me. What do you mean the one I showed you? Yeah, the second one you showed us. That night I went and grabbed Dad, and we went back and we called the listing agent, and we thought we could save a few bucks by just seeing if we could go through the listing agent. So we put a deal together. Just stop right there. Put yourself in my shoes. How do you think I felt?
Frustrated.
Angry.
Very.
Very mad. It's in my nature to have these issues, so I want to make sure I don't put myself in a position to become an angry person. I'm older now, so I'm better. But when I was younger, I didn't, I could get mad pretty easy, right? Not, there's all reasons why. But the point was, this made me very angry. And I don't think I treated him bad and said any colorful metaphor or nothing like that. I think I just said, okay, well, congrats and whatever, and sucked it up sort of thing. But I was really upset. Would you be?
Yeah.
Really upset. And then I started to realize I should be upset with, not John, not Ross, but how many fingers pointing at me?
3.
3.
I need to be upset with myself because I should have just said, you have to sign this or I can't help you. Right? And I was really upset with myself. So does all of that sound pretty bad? From all the work I did and how I felt, does that sound pretty bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it gets worse. And the worst part that happened is the reason that I finally said, I will not work with anybody unless they sign no matter what. No matter what the excuse is, no matter who they are. And so that was a blessing for me. But something else happened that was worse from that experience. I went home, and ladies, you know us guys, we can be quite the pouters, right? And complainers, right? So I go home, and the whole evening, guess what I'm doing around my wife and family?
Complaining.
Complaining about what's going on, complaining about and how angry I am. And now my wife and kids have already heard me complain and be angry about previous stuff.
Yeah.
And this time she just looked at me and went, that's it. Like, seriously, not that she was leaving me or nothing, but she just, that's it. You can't do this anymore. And I looked at her and that light went on like, oh, I didn't realize what I was doing until she kind of pointed it out. Because it was all about me. And we can do that. It can be about me. And then I didn't realize that when I come home, the business should be parked and it should be about my family, yes? And it really woke me up. And I thought, I'm not going to let any buyer who's going to say it's okay, trust me, and all that stuff, risk me going home and doing that ever again. And you know yourself, we already do it off and on anyways.
Oh, yeah.
We got to avoid it when we're really upset about it. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. So, anyways, we're going to go into this process. So we book the appointment, and when you book the appointment at your office preferably, if you do the exception, don't make a habit of it. The exception would be, one exception that is sort of not bad, but depends how you feel about it, you can meet them at their house. We do that with listings, but some of you might be uncomfortable meeting them at their house. It's hard to say. It's up to you. If you do, take somebody else with you. Meeting at a coffee shop, I understand some realtors do that, but you know, there's background noise and there's other people watching you and all this kind of stuff. So obviously a nice private room, a boardroom in a real estate office is the best way. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So check with the office to see when you can book it or how that works, or if you have, you know, something like that. So now you book the appointment, and there's two things you want to do. One is you want to send a pre-list brochure, so make a note of that, okay? So you want to, so like I said, you're advertising or you have listings, you use your call form, you use a couple techniques to book an appointment, then you bona fide the appointment by getting the pre-approval process started and send your pre-list brochure. So I'm on the phone with them. How do I get the pre-approval process started? What do you think? I would say to them, do you have a pen handy? That little phrase I just said will help you get to the next step really easy. What did I say it was?
Yeah, we have a pen.
Yeah. I mean, it's that important, you should write it down. You should say, call form, book an appointment, and then for bona fiding it, you say, do you have a pen handy? They'll say yes or no. And if they say yes, it's here, write down this number. And you give them your mortgage broker's name and number. Do that while you're on the phone. And you say to him, give him a call, tell him we're going to meet up on Saturday, and he's going to ask for some information and get the pre-approval process started. And then say this part, I will also call him and give him your number. So between the two of you, you'll connect. Now when you do hang up and call the mortgage broker, tell your mortgage broker to phone them right away. But you're also telling them to phone the mortgage broker right away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't tell the mortgage broker that you have somebody that calls, and if they don't call by next week, call them. That's just going to mess up everything. So you tell them, call right away. And you tell them, okay, so I'll get him to try to reach out to you, and you reach out to him. And then you'll say, and I'm going to send you something in the mail. I'm going to send you a brochure about myself and my company. It'll just save us some time on our appointment. Can you make sure you read it, please, and send it to them. So pre-list, the exact same one that's the sample, that looks like it's a lot for sellers, can also be used for buyers when it comes to your bio, when it comes to your company, your passions and all that stuff. So make sure you send that. Even if it costs you $10 or $20 for a courier, make sure you send it. You'll get less cancellations and you'll get more signatures. Who would like it where they sign really easy again? Okay, so most of you, you have to create consumer confidence. If they call on a yard sign, they got a little bit of confidence. They saw your name on the sign, right? If they talk to you on the phone and you're professional, they got more confidence. If you send them something about you and your company, again, more consumer confidence, yes? Mm-hmm. So it's not anything like somebody says, oh, that's just a waste of money or something, or it costs money. It's going to help you make more money, as I mentioned many times, yes? So now you have the appointment booked. So like I said, that was the first key, the face-to-face meeting. Where again? Yeah. So now they pull up. Now, ideally, it'd be nice if the mortgage broker not only called you a day or two before your meeting and told you they're pre-approved, but also sent you a confirmation letter. Now, there's two letters that a good mortgage broker will do with you. Two. What they will do is, if your client calls the mortgage broker or the mortgage broker calls them, they'll have a consultation. He may even set up, or she, the mortgage broker, might set up a time to meet them even. Or he might do a Zoom meeting, or he may just say, no, send me this and send me that. There's 3 or 4 major items they need to complete. And I need you to write this down, because if you have a mortgage broker that won't do this, don't use them. Okay? If you have a mortgage broker that says we do this, but just verbally, don't use them. And I hope you tell them that. I hope you say, we're not using you unless you do what I'm about to tell you right now. Are you ready for it? Yep. Number 1 is they do a credit check, for sure. Number 2, they do the job letter or pay stub, you know, the job information. Number 3, of course, a mortgage application. And the 4th thing is the NOA. What's that stand for?
Notice of assessment.
Right. If they owe more than $2,000, you can't get a mortgage. Even if they have good credit and even if they have a full down payment, they can't get it. Can't get a mortgage. You have to pay the tax man first. So what was the first thing?
Credit check,
Second?
job letter, pay
Job
stub.
letter, pay stub, you know, that type of thing. How long do they need to be at their job for?
3 months.
Well, that's 2 years. Unless they had a job before that and their pay, their tax, if their taxable income is consistent, but with different companies, then some lenders won't do it still.
Yeah.
But they have to have been employed for at least 2 years and have had a steady income, and preferably at the same employer, okay? Now, that some mortgage brokers will say they can juggle this and juggle that, and B lenders will do this or that, but just in general, you want to make sure that they have their job letter and pay stub, and the mortgage broker's gotten that, and they do a mortgage application, and they've also checked the what again?
Credit.
I think it's line 22, where it shows on the NOA how much, or there's a thing about, oh, I know what it was. On your taxable income from the accountant, when they give you back, when they filed for you, there's a line that shows your taxable income. That if they work for themselves, instead of the pay stub, they can use that. And I think it's line 22 or something. Okay, so if you have a mortgage broker that says, yeah, I'll do that, then you say, so I need you to verify that and then send me 2 letters. So there's a letter they send to the borrower, which is the buyer, that says what they're qualified for and that they completed those items. That's the same letter you need. But that's not the same letter that you will use when you are writing an offer. You have to get another one that doesn't show the amount they're pre-approved for. And it can say their name on it, but it can't say any private information. Okay, and what you're going to do, I'm just jumping ahead, but when you actually write an offer, all of you will send a pre-approval letter with the offer. It'll help you have more strength in the offer that you wrote, because they're pre-approved. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure you do that. In fact, what I'd like you to do is this. Let's make sure we maybe even cleaning this whole industry up from the inside out. Every listing you get, if you can make a note on this, on the listing side, in the private remarks, I want you to write in this. You must have a pre-approval confirmation / letter with all OTPs. What's an OTP?
Offer to
Offer to
purchase.
purchase.
Put that in all the private comments from now on. Okay? Now, I would say take it to another level and tell them they can't do any showings without proving it. But that's pushing it a bit for some of you, I get it. But I would definitely put that, you know what, if somebody says they got an offer, so what I would do is if somebody wants to show one of your listings, I would ask them, are they pre-approved? And you watch, you'll catch some people that don't do that, they go, yeah, and they just lied to you. You can tell, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not gonna stop, okay, well, we'll set up the showing. And then if somebody says we have an offer, just say, good, send the pre-approval letter with it.
Yes.
If they say we don't have it, then just say, okay, well, we'll just wait until you do. Now, here's the thing. This is off topic of this. This is back on the listing side. I may have said this before. But if they say, listen, I'm writing the offer anyways, you have to present once I write it. You say, okay. But no pre-approval letter, and verbally you're saying they're pre-approved. Do you know if there was a credit check done, if there was all this, those 4 things? If they say, yeah, I think so, you say, okay, I'll let my seller know. Our job is to present that offer with all the facts to the seller, yes?
Yes.
So then what we do is we say, okay, we got an offer here, and next week I'll teach you how to present an offer, but one of the things you will say is that the other realtor told me they're not pre-approved. So I need you to know that before we accept it, because if we accept it, and they're not pre-approved, there's more of a chance that financing will fall through. And I don't want you to be upset with me when that happens. So you have to let me know if we should proceed knowing they're not pre-approved. Yeah, let's do it, they'll say probably, right? And you'll say, okay. But then when it comes back and financing falls through, they can't blame you, whereas if you don't say nothing, they can blame you, yes? Okay, back on the appointment. So you booked the appointment, you sent your pre-list, they got pre-approved for a mortgage. You got a letter saying they're pre-approved, you got another one you can use with the offer to purchase. And the office, you're back here and somebody comes and says your 3 o'clock appointment is here, right? So confidently walk to the front. Walk to the front of the office confidently, and when you see them, smile, shake their hand, pay them a sincere compliment, and take them back here to one of these tables or into one of the client rooms. Sounds good? And then you sit down and you talk about anything but real estate for a few minutes. Once real estate is brought up, you would move to the sales process. Now, does this sound familiar to the seller one?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the seller one again? Pull up in front of the house. Make sure I'm...
Focused.
What? Team B?
Focus.
Focused. walk to the front door, ring the,
Doorbell,
then you smile, pay them a,
sincere
take them to
compliment,
the,
kitchen table.
sit down and talk about anything but
Real
real estate. You got your brochure on the table. Once real estate is brought up, open up your book and let them know what you're gonna do before you do it.
Yeah,
Very similar, right? They come to the door, they come into the front, and then you walk up front, smile, maybe shake their hand, pay them a sincere compliment, and take them back to your client room. Yes? Sit down, and you might even say to them, if you had a chance to read the brochure, if they say no, pull one out, say here, and I'm not saying make them read it right now, but just so it's there. Does that make sense? You can always get them to take it with them also. So all of you have your pre-list brochures by now. You should probably have 30 or 40 printed off, and you've been using them for a while on all your appointments, right? So once real estate is brought up, you say, well, here, let me show you what we have here for you. So like I said, you take your book like this and open it up, and the first page has 8 steps to go through. So I'm going to go through the 8 steps, and we're going to role play that in a minute here. Peter, you can set out for this just so the even numbers there in your team, okay? Okay, so, while people are still writing, I want to mention a couple things again. Don't meet people at properties. Don't meet people at properties, okay? It's not illegal to meet them in front of the house, but if you haven't got them to sign any documents and went over agency or anything like that, it is illegal according to the Act to walk into a house with them unless they've signed everything. Okay? You took your course, right?
Yeah.
And it said it right in the Act. If you do not go over representation and get them to sign the Consumer Relations Guide or become a customer, it's illegal to walk into the house with them.
But Devin, I read somewhere that you can show them properties.
No, unless you do an open house. It's the only way. You can't. And go look at your Act.
Okay.
When you took the course, you can't. You have to go over the agency relationship, and you have to get them to sign either customer or sign as a client in the Consumer Relations Guide. It's mandatory. By the way, it's been like that for decades.
Yeah.
It's been like that forever. Okay? And second of all, you should say, oh, that's great, because now I'll make sure I don't do that anymore. Because you never meet people at properties, ever. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if you have somebody that says, I don't want to sign anything, right? And they say they still want to see the place, say, well, I'm doing an open house on Saturday at 3, you feel free to pop by. Simple as that. Okay. So, let's see here. So, once you're at the table and you're talking a bit, then you say, well, here, let me show you what I have here for you. So let's go over the steps. So the first step, and I think there's 4 on this page, yeah. So you'll say, first step is I have some qualifying questions to confirm. That'll save us some time. And this way I can find out what you want to accomplish. Fair enough, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? They'll say, sure, that sounds good. You say, and then the next step, I have some buyer services to go over with you. Now, you guys remember FBCT. That's where every time you say a service, which is a fact, you got to tell them the benefit, which is what's in it for them. And you close on it all the time.
Teaching.
Thank you. And sometimes you use a takeaway. Some of you in a different time zone, huh? And so I'm teaching it now, and then I'll show you how to do it, and then you'll get to the role play. But you'll say, I'm going to ask you some questions, verify a few things, that'll save us some time, and then I can find out what you want to accomplish. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Or Jones, I said. And then from there, we got some buyer services to show you. It's like one-stop shopping. And this is how I get the job done for you. And then what we'll do is we'll make a mutual decision at that point. I have some forms to explain, or agency, I need to spell it out for you or explain it to you, and that's where you use FBCT again. And then if we decide to work with each other, then in step 4, we can do a search. We can put your criteria in the database, cross-reference with every listing in the city, and we can set up some viewings or some showings. And we'll go see the showings all at once, all in one afternoon. All in one afternoon. So, the next step, I'm just going to say it because some people are still writing, is after the showings we're going to return to the office. So you're actually telling them what you're going to do before you do it. So it's not a surprise to them. It's easier for them to follow what you said. So we're gonna look at some properties, and after that we're going to return to the office. So I'm going to push the button. Is that okay? So, is that still going? So return to the office, and then what we'll do when we return to the office is we'll spread out the properties, or the highlight sheets of the properties that we went to look at. And we'll discard the ones you're absolutely not interested in, and then we'll answer any questions you have on any properties you're interested in. Fair enough, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? And then when we narrow it down to maybe the one you like, I have a buyer cost sheet. I have an app on my phone that we can figure out your monthly payments. We'll figure monthly payments based on the full list price. So you can see how it'll work for your budget. We'll transfer it onto a buyer cost sheet. You can keep that sheet as well. And then if you say that everything sounds good, we can write an offer for you. We'll be able to negotiate on your behalf when we present. And we'll do that logically for you. And then of course, once you move into your property, we'll get you in there, take possession, and we'll have a follow-up program for you. We'll keep in touch with you periodically. I have a newsletter that I send you, and I might call you once or twice a year, and I might invite you to some of our events. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to go into the questions now.
No.
Okay? So, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to show you how to do the process, or go over the process again. Then you're going to role play. So let me show you how to do it now. So I taught you how to do it. Now I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'll get you to role play. Okay? So just point at your role play partner right now. No, not going to do it. Okay, thanks. Everybody did. Everybody knows who their partner is. Good. So this is how exactly you're going to do it. So just watch. I'll leave this like this. Just watch me and do it exactly the way I do it. So everybody's already wrote this down. So maybe more look at me, right? So you're still going to have it in front of you. So you're going to say, thanks for coming in. Let me show you what I have here for you today. I have just 8 steps that we're going to go through to help you. First thing I'm going to do is ask you some qualifying questions. That'll save us some time. Help me to find out what you want to accomplish. Sounds good, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? I'll say sure. Or you know their names, so make sure their name tags are turned around. Make sure they're high enough so they can see it. Make sure you remind them to say your names if they don't. Okay? So you'll say, after I go over some of the questions, I'm going to go over our buyer service. It's like one-stop shopping. Show you how we get the job done. Then we'll make a decision, a mutual decision, by spelling out our agency relationship, so it's spelled out. We have some forms to go over, and if you decide that you want to hire me and I know I can help you, so you can say it like that, then what we'll do is we'll do a search, and we'll cross-reference your criteria with every listing in the city. And we'll select some, we'll set up the showings, and we'll go look at them all at once, all right? And once we finish the showings, we'll come back to the office so I can answer any questions you have about any properties you're interested in. And if there's a property that you like, we'll figure out the monthly payments based on full list price. I have an app for that, but I'll transfer the information on the sheet here I'll have for you, and you can take a look at that. If everything seems really good for you, we can write an offer for you, and we can negotiate on your behalf when we present. All right? And of course, once you get into your place, we will have a follow-up program for you. We'll keep in touch with our newsletter and call you once in a while and invite you to some of our events.